if you are someone who's interested in weight loss, muscle building, fitness, etc., then you might have heard the term peptides. And if you have watched a few peptide videos already, you have probably heard the same explanation over and over again. What are peptides? Peptides are the language of the body. Peptides are the signaling molecules of your body. Peptides are like a key to the switch of your body. Peptides are chains of amino acids. And of course, all these are true, but it doesn't completely or really explain, why peptides have suddenly become one of the hottest topics in the fitness, anti-aging, and medicine and longevity industry at this point of time. Because the reality is that most of the people think peptides are one thing, but they are actually not. Of course, if you talk about semaglutide, which is very popular among all, Ozempic, it's a peptide. BPC 157, it's a body protection compound, which is a peptide. Insulin, it's a peptide. So if I need to tell you simply what is peptide, if I talk about TB 500, semaglutide, tirzepatide, retatrutide, BPC 157, that makes it slightly complicated. But if I tell you insulin is a peptide, then everyone think, yes, is it a peptide? Right now only you will understand that yes, peptides as part of many people's daily life also. Collagen peptides, these are peptides. Growth hormone secretagogues, that's again a peptide, right? Brain peptides like Cmax, Selank, cognitive functions, that is peptide. DSIP for sleep, that's the peptide. PT141, kisspeptin for the physical intimacy related peptides, right? But they all do completely different things. All these have different function. So the word peptide tells you what they are made of. It doesn't tell you what actually they do. So what I'm going to do today is, let's properly understand what peptides actually are and how they work in your body and why they are suddenly everywhere and everyone is using at this point of time to enhance or to have a better metabolism or to reduce your weight or to increase the muscle, right? Or for different other functions of the body, and who can realistically benefit from them. All these I'll be discussing in this session. So what is a peptide? At the most basic level, peptide is simply short chain amino acids. And amino acids are the building block of protein. So you can think about it like this. A few amino acids, they join together, that create a peptide. Hundreds of amino acids join together, that create protein. So that's the structural difference, right? But what's more important is what peptide do inside your body. See, every minute of every day, your body produce thousands of peptides. Your body is actually producing peptides. So these peptides act as communication signal, and they tell the cells when to repair the tissue, when to release certain hormones, when to grow, when to have, appetite, right? When to reduce inflammation, when to increase or decrease your appetite, and everything. In simple terms, peptides that the body produce are biological messages to your body. They are the instructions and they are the communication tools of your body. Now, the biggest mistake that people make is, they're assuming all peptides belong to the same category. That's not the case. They are not belonging to the same category. Saying, when I say I'm taking peptides, it's almost like saying I'm taking medication. Now, that could mean hundreds of completely different things, actually. So, if you really want to understand peptides, we need to divide them into category. There can be metabolic peptides, there can be muscle gaining peptides, right? There can be peptides for sleep, there can be peptides for sex, there can be peptides for cognitive function, there can be peptides for repair. So let's start with the metabolic peptides, right? These are the peptides currently dominating the headlines: Ozempic, Mounjaro. So the examples are semaglutide, which is Ozempic, tirzepatide, Mounjaro, and retatrutide. That's the one which is now going to make the revolution, though it is not FDA approved. Okay, so their primary role is metabolic regulation, and they help to influence your appetite, your blood pressure, blood sugar control, insulin sensitivity, and weight loss. And this is why they have become extremely popular. And if you look at around 6 out of 10 American citizens are using semaglutide, this Ozempic. And many people think peptides started with Ozempic. In reality, peptides have existed for decades. As I told you, insulin, it's a peptide. It's almost 100 years back, right? So Ozempic simply introduced, peptides to the mainstream public. Now, the normal public came to know about peptides because of Ozempic. Now, category two is a healing peptide. that's the recovery world, right? So this include this BPC 157, my favorite peptide, TB 500 kpv. I had a tear here in the shoulder, and it was supposed to, like, the doctors have advised me to go for arthroscopic surgery in 4 weeks using BPC 157 and TB 500 combination. It's done. There is no such tear now. Earlier, when I played volleyball, it just happened when I smashed it once. After that, for 3, 4 years, that injury is there. Whenever I try to take hand like this, that pain will come. So doctors advise me for arthroscopic surgery, but I don't want to do that. And now this healed it completely. I can do that. I can play volleyball. I can smash again. I can throw the ball. I can do anything. So that the power of peptides, right? So BPC 157, TB 500, KPV. So these peptides are mainly for tissue repair, recovery, gut support, injury rehabilitation. So that injury rehabilitation I told you, the same BPC 157 and TB 500 help me to recover after the very good workout also. And many athletes actually refer to BPC 157 and TB 500 together as the Wolverine stack, because the goal is actually accelerated healing and recovery. And whether it is your tendons or ligaments or muscles or soft tissues, this category is probably, in fact, if you look at it, most popular among the athletes, because your recovery is faster, your injuries are healed faster, your cell repair, your muscle repair, your tissue repair, your ligament issues, your tendons issues, everything you can solve with the peptides. No, you don't want surgeries. I know my friend, his mother was facing problem with the knee. Doctors advice for surgery, but 4 weeks of using that, it's finished. That's crazy. Okay. Now, growth. Next is growth hormone peptides. So that include your CJC 1295, Ipamorelin, Semorelin, and Tesamorelin. These peptides, if you see, there is a difference between growth hormone and growth hormone peptides. Growth hormone directly have the growth hormone you are injecting your body. That these peptides do not contain growth hormone. Instead, they encourage your body to release more of its own growth hormone. So this is going to stimulate your body to create its own growth hormone. Growth hormone peptide is different. That growth hormone is different that you directly inject. Okay, so that's a very important distinction that you need to understand. Here, you're not directly injecting growth hormone. You're telling your body to produce its own growth hormone. Directly injecting growth hormone is different, right? That's the important distinction, because many people confuse growth hormone peptides with growth hormone itself. They're not the same thing. So the goal here, again, it is to recover, sleep, better sleep. You'll get, see, I use Tesamorelin. Tesamorelin is very good for visceral fat reduction. So I use that, and the sleep quality is really good, because I don't want a DSIP, separate sleep related tablet or peptide. You can use Tesamorelin. Two functions: your visceral fat is gone, growth hormone, natural production they will stimulate, and it will give you good deep sleep also, and body composition will improve by cutting that visceral fat and other things. Performance also will improve. So it is basically enhancing your body's own natural hormone signaling. Next, that's the longevity related and mitochondrial peptides. Very important. This is where things become fascinating. My favorite peptide, MOTS-C. So similar one is SS31, epithalon for longevity, GHKCU. That is having multiple functions, including hair, your skin, your repair, many things. But MOTS-C, mitochondrial peptide, that's my favorite. I use every day. In fact, I don't use any pre-workout for gym. I use MOTS-C, and that's my pre-workout for gym. That's my energy powerhouse also. So these peptides, the four that I've discussed, they focus on, aesthetics and more on cellular function. So their role is like mitochondrial health, and mitochondria is the powerhouse, energy production and everything, AMPK activation and energy production, cellular repair, healthy aging. So you can think of these as optimization peptides. So the goal is not simply looking better or looking younger. The goal is improving how cells function. You get the fresh cells, right? So that improvement at that cellular level, your energy level will go. See, my age is 40 now, but my biological age is 32. For me, it is extremely good because I have survived cancer. If you look at this look of mine, this is during 2023 when I was fighting cancer during my surgery and chemo. I came to 48 kilogram. But now, if you look at that time, my physical real age was 36, but I look like 42, 45. Not only look like, physically I was weak, biological age was like 45. But now I'm 40, but my biological, that's the biohacking I've done with the peptides. It was done using MOTS-C, GHKCU, BPC, TB, and Tesamorelin, Retatrutide also. Now there are cognitive peptides. Let's talk about the brain, which is very important. Examples are Semax and Selank. Okay, so these peptides are actually for associated with your focus, the cognition, your mood, stress management, mental performance, and I'm a trader, so my trading, these peptides again actually help me. So unlike many other injectable peptides, these are like sometimes it is delivered through nasal sprays also, because the goal is to get them closer to the central nervous system. And this is one of the fastest growing area of the peptide research. The CEO, this is also known as CEO's peptides. Okay, VIP peptides. So how peptides actually work? Let's go into the science. Most people imagine peptides floating around the body and doing magical things. That's not how it works. Every peptide is looking for something very specific. The peptides are designed for specific things, right? There is a receptor. Every peptide is looking for a receptor. So what is, you think about receptor like a lock. This is a lock, right? And the peptide receptor is the lock, and the peptide is the key to the lock. If the key fits the lock, then something happens. What is that? There will be a signal which is going to be triggered. So that actually begins a biological process. So when you get the body get the signal, so biological process will begin. It could be a growth hormone release. If it is a growth hormone, secretagogues kind of peptides like Ipamorelin, CJC9, 1295, etc. Or it could be appetite reduction, Semaglutide, Tirzepatide, or Retatrutide. If it is related to inflammation reduce, KPV, right? It could be tissue repair if it is BPC 157, TB 500. So that signal will be triggered and that biological process begin. So the peptide is a message, the receptor is the mailbox, and the cell is the recipient. And that's the entire process, that's the entire concept. I hope this is very clear. Now, why most of the peptides are injected? This is another common question that you have, right? Why can't I just take a peptide pill? The answer is very simple. Your stomach is designed to break proteins apart. And when most peptides enter the digestive system, what happens? They are destroyed. They are going to be treated like food if you are taking through a pill, right? And that's why many peptides need to be injected, because injection bypasses the digestive system and allow the peptide to reach its target intact without getting broken down, directly entering into the bloodstream. And of course, there are exceptions. Some peptides have been, specially and specifically engineered for the oral use also. But generally speaking, most peptide therapies actually rely on injection for the same reason. I hope that is very clear, right? Now, the next question that people have is why peptides exploding in popularity right now? See, peptides are not new. Insulin was first used medically over 100 years ago. Insulin is a peptide. But how many of you now only understood insulin is a peptide, right? What's new is the engineering. Now, scientists have learned how to modify peptides so they remain active for much longer. Take GLP-1 as an example. Your semaglutide, right? Your natural GLP-1 survive only for few minutes, but modern versions of semaglutide that can remain active for approximately 1 week. So much better than natural, and at the same time, one shot is enough for a week. So same biological pathway, but completely different duration, and that's the breakthrough. It's not the discovery as such, the way it is engineered. Okay, now why some peptides are so powerful? Many people hear peptides are natural and assume that natural means it's harmless. That is again a mistake. Insulin is natural, adrenaline is natural, cortisol is natural, but too much of them that can create serious problems also. The same, anything which is too much that can create problems. Same is applicable in case of peptide also. So the strength of a signal depends upon the dose that you're injecting, the frequency in which you're injecting, the duration, not whether it is natural or not. So if you're abusing peptides, then that also going to create problem. This is why responsible use matters and a proper advice is required. And that's why I'm here for you. Okay. So another question is who should actually consider peptide? Person like me who suffered, right? Or I'm getting up once you're above 35, almost all your natural production is going down, so you need to compensate it with peptides. So depending upon your medical condition, your body, you need to biohack your body so that you will be living longer, healthier. So peptides are not magic, and they do not replace the fundamentals. Fundamentals, as I discussed last day, it should be there. The people who benefit most from the peptides are usually the people who already have proper good sleep, good nutrition, adequate protein intake, regular training, strength training, cardio training, and reasonable stress management. So you have peptides. Peptides amplify a healthy foundation. These are tools which will support your original lifestyle. They do not create anything new. If somebody sleep only 4 hours a night and someone eating junk food and never do exercise and have uncontrolled stress, then there is no peptide stack is going to save that kind of people. So the foundation has to be built first, and then comes optimization. So if your foundation is strong, come to me, I'll do the optimization for you and we'll do the biohacking. So if you're 40, you can go back to 30 easily. That's what I do for you. What's the future of peptide? We are still in the early stages. Today we have peptides, which is for obesity, for diabetes, for longevity, for recovery, for neurodegenerative disease, for autoimmune disease, cardiovascular health. And the next decade, that may completely transform how we think about medicine. Sometimes you may not have to visit the hospital again. You may not get sick again if you use the peptides properly. Not because peptides are magic, but because they allow us to communicate with biology in much more precise way. Okay, so what do peptides actually do? They don't magically heal everything. They don't turn you into a superhero, and they certainly are not a substitute for your healthy living. What they do is much more interesting. They act as biological signal. They communicate with your cells. Otherwise, your communication system is in trouble once you are reaching that 35, above 30. So now the communication with cells will be proper, and they influence the specific pathways. And when used appropriately, they may help to enhance your recovery, which otherwise is getting slowed down, your metabolism, which otherwise is getting into trouble, your performance, which otherwise, you're getting weak, your cognition, and healthy aging, graceful aging. But remember, I always talk about this, the best peptide stack in the world that cannot outperform other things: consistent sleep, resistance training, high protein nutrition, healthy body composition, stress management. Those remain the foundation. Everything else is simply the enhancement which is built on top of that foundation. So keep these in mind and responsibly use your peptide with your mentor. So if you are looking for any help, you can get in touch with us. I see you. Thank you.